Hi, I solve math problems. Now, I am by no means any kind of genius or anything. I just enjoy a good challenge every now and again. Now, for the past 5.5 years, I've been working on a different kind of math problem. That being, if a student falls behind in their maths, is there a way to get back up on your feet? Now, I have come up with a solution. Now, if that is you, then stick around and see what I've done.
Now let's head over to refractions.co.za. This will take you to the homepage. On the homepage, you will see there are 4 main sections. So building blocks, which we will focus on in this introduction, then grade 10 schoolwork, which is this grade 10 school syllabus, grade 11 and 12 revision, which focuses on exam preparation and can also be used as an aid during the year, and then downloading past papers and memos. So for building blocks, if we go to view more, then we head over to the building blocks page.
Okay, hold on. So before I show you how that works, let's just first look at what are building blocks and why are they important in mathematics.
So let's answer this question. What are building blocks? Now, building blocks on face value are the following. It's integers and BODMAS, it's fractions, it's algebra, it's exponents, factorization, and equations. Now, why are they building blocks and why are they so important? So let's start with integers. Can you add these two integers? And if not, will you be able to add these two terms? And do you know that minus 5x plus 3x is negative 2? And do you know that x times x is x squared? And what about putting the two together? Can you or can't you add these two? And with all of that, if you can't do that, then will you be able to multiply out these two brackets and know the final answer is that? And what about taking the final answer and putting it back into the two brackets? And what about if it's an equation? Because this is called a quadratic equation. And with quadratic equations, you will find in patterns, in functions, in calculus, and in trigonometry. Or about taking a step back to linear equations. Now, linear equations are in patterns, in finance, in functions, in calculus, Euclidean geometry, and also in analytical geometry. And what about your fractions? Can you add and subtract fractions? Can you multiply and divide fractions? Because fractions turn into algebra, and then they turn into equations. And oh, look, there's a fraction in a function. So what are building blocks? Now we've seen that building blocks are the following, and to answer that question more directly, building blocks are the blocks that your math is built on. And if your building blocks look like that guy's teeth, then you might have a big problem, because building blocks essentially answer the question on how to do mathematics. And with that, when you answer a question, you need to ask yourself, what must I do? And you need to ask yourself, how do I do it? Now, what must you do? That's basically knowledge. But how do you do it? That is your building blocks. Let's look at this practical example. It says determine the x-intercept. So with this, we know that the x-intercept is where y equals to 0. So I'm basically just going to equate my function to 0 and solve for it. But how do you do that? And in order to know how to do that, you basically need to know how to solve for a quadratic equation. And that is why we want to know how to do our building blocks. Now let's look at how this works. So when you scroll down, you'll see there are 4 procedures: testing your blocks, identifying missing blocks, start building, and then you can also strengthen your current grade. If you start off testing your blocks, you'll see that the baseline assessment for grade 8 to 12 is available. It's downloadable and free on the website as well as in Afrikaans, and all the lessons are also available in Afrikaans, and then the memo to mark. Now if you download the baseline assessment, it looks as follows. So we have all the questions and the applicable codes next to the question. Now, once you have written it, it takes about an hour and a half. You download the memo and you mark it. And once you've done that, you scroll down and then you download the layout. So the layout looks as follows, and it shows you exactly what was tested on the baseline assessment. So we have grade 7 work, grade 8 work, and grade 10 products, factorization, equations, inequalities, and so forth. Now, looking back to your baseline assessment, let's say that you could not do question 47. Then you look at the code and you go and identify the code on the layout. So 1007, you could not do quadratic factorization. So for each question that you got wrong on the baseline assessment, you just go and mark it off on your layout. And then you've identified the missing blocks in your mathematics. Now going back, we scroll down further, and this is the part where you're going to have to register and sign up. Now, here are some example lessons that you can look at how it works and what it looks like. And then once you've signed in, you just select your grade and language, and then you will see the layout on the website coming up. And this is where all the lessons are. So for example, which we looked at 1007, if you want to do that lesson, you simply select that lesson, and then it will come up. Now, the lessons is structured in such a way that it will allow you to make mistakes and try again, because I strictly believe that in mathematics, you must fail and try again until you get it. And there are 3 steps. It is basically understanding, then it is to be able to do it, and then you need to practice it. So first of all, you watch the lesson, and then you go down and you do only a few sums at a time. So this one, for example, is just 4. It can be anything from 3 to 5. So this one, you do 4 sums and you watch the lesson, and you notice where you make your mistakes, and then you go on to the next and you try again until you feel comfortable with it. And then once you have reached a point where you feel that you are comfortable with the sums, you go on to the next lesson. So if you go back to the layout, you will see that each section, let's say you have now completed the section on factorization, you'll see that this section has a mini test on products and factorization. So this is just a little self-evaluation, an online test, which gives you your results back immediately. And it's just to see, have you mastered basically the steps in every block.
Right, so that's it in a nutshell, and I wish you all the best for your academic year in 2024. And if maths is giving you any problems, then you know where to go.